maybe than the council. Some hurt feelings. Hopefully they can work through it. As one of the city council members basically said, this is win-win, win-win. We'll get it done. Let's hope so. We'll talk with Mr. Earhart about that. And yesterday, I don't know if you saw this story, pretty interesting. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis asked his state budget committee with a request of $1 million, not 100, $1 million to give to Florida State so they could sue the college football playoff committee about that. And also another SEC historian, Ron Higgins. Those are our guests lined up. So let me tell you about D'Angelo, because I had the pleasure of calling his games. And I watched the guy get 6,026 yards. I can't remember his total all-purpose yardage. It led the country for a while, or led the NCAA for a while, total yardage. Somebody has surpassed that now, but he's still in the top 5. He had 34 100 or more yard games. He was the guy most responsible for ending a 32-year bull drought. He's the third Tiger in the Hall, but the first player ever to get in, because coaches Billy Murphy got in, last year? And then Alan McKean, which people didn't realize he was already in, because most people were thinking Billy Murphy, Spook Murphy, was the first in, but McKean was the first in. So 3 Tigers now in the Hall, but the first ever player, that would be D'Angelo Williams. That is just terrific. NBA semis last night in the in-season tournament. I'm still not totally turned on, but I think the country is, and I know the players are. And it's interesting, the financial incentives, because several of the coaches had talked about, look, money talks, and these guys are incentivized not just for themselves, like the big name stars, but the lower paid players. There is no low-paid NBA player, but the lower-paid players, and I think support staff, get bonuses for moving on in this in-season tournament. And now we've got it all set up. It'll be the Bucks, and they'll face Indy. The Bucks scored 100 in their win over the Knicks last night. What a pairing now they have with Giannis there and Dame. Then in Los Angeles, the Lakers were able to beat Phoenix. I just cannot get over how great LeBron James is. I was never really that big a LeBron fan, but as the years have gone on, how can you help but marvel? At 38 years of age, early in the season, because they've made this in-season tournament more competitive with these incentives, the guy had 15 of his 31 in the fourth quarter. He had 11 assists, 8 rebounds, 5 steals. He's 38 years old. Even though there is some controversy about this, he called the timeout. They may not have had the ball. The refs bought it. Called a timeout at the end of the game to ensure that the Lakers would have the ball to get the win. The Suns were enraged over this, but the call stood. It's not reviewable, and the Lakers may have gotten away with one, but that high IQ play by LeBron sealed it, and that was terrific. Grizz in Detroit tonight. Zach Boyd, I'm going to say they're going to win 3 out of their last 4, only because Detroit is lost 17 in a row. You've got to win this game, don't you?
Yes, there's no question about that. You got to get this one.
I think they will. So, if they can get to 5-20, what do they got to win, like 36 games to be 500 and Ja comes back? I mean, I think it's doable. And so this one is one of those games you really want to see them win. I'm in Richmond tonight, 6 o'clock Memphis time. The Tigers will take on the VCU Rams. Tigers 47-62, but in all honesty here, this is not the Rams team that we all know. This is a Rams team that's different. They got 5 new starters. Only 2 guys from last year played 62-47. They got a new coach, Ryan Odom. The old coach went to Penn State. This coach is famous for something. And Zach Boyd, I'm going to ask if you know, because this is fairly obscure, but you're a pretty detailed guy. Odom is famous for?
Defense?
Pardon?
You said who's Odom?
Ryan Odom. You're probably getting a hold of Steve Earhart for us.
I don't know.
VCU coaches.
That name sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Okay. He's famous. He was the Utah State coach last year. He was at Utah State for 2 years. Prior to that, he was the coach who engineered the very first 16 seed over a one University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC, upset Virginia. So now you know that story. We're going to talk with Steve Earhart from the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, who was front and center yesterday afternoon in the. Looking forward to hearing what he's got to say. And he comes your way from Grind City Brewing. They take care of business in Memphis. They have for a number of years. If you have not been just north of downtown in that beautiful building, big, nice expanse of park with picnic tables and tents, and, of course, this beautiful skyline. You look at the Memphis bridges, and that's where they make product like Poppy's Pills, just what the doctor ordered. It's a Pilsner that absolutely everybody loves. It's the number one seller. There's the Godhopper, the Pale Ale. If you would like to try an amber lager, this is a fairly new product to Thaddeus that's popular. If you're a Blue Moon kind of a person, you'll love the Belga Wheat Ale. And if you go old school, you want a little more punch, a little more alcohol, they got a craft malt liquor called Tiger Tail. Grab that tiger by the tail. You'll love it. Grind City Brewing, a taste of Memphis, and they're taking care of beerness right here in our city. So let me, without any further ado, bring in the big cheese, the head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. That would be our friend Steve Earhart. Good morning, Mr. E, and tell me, what was that like in front of the city council yesterday?
Well, it was a long hearing there, but I think in the end it's all going to work out. There was, just like any political situation with many different parties, whether you could imagine Washington, D.C. on a grand scale or even at every local deal, there's going to be issues and opinions. But I think what the biggest rub was that this is a complicated deal coming together on the fly, and the information did not get to the city council members until either late the night before or the morning of the actual hearing. And so digesting, many pages of documentation caused some upsetness, but I think they worked through that, and I think the next two weeks from now, when we have the next council meeting, I think it'll go through all right. That's my own opinion. Of course, can't to the city council, but that's my opinion. We were able to, I think, get the message out, certainly from the AutoZone Liberty Bowl point of view, the Southern Heritage, and the University of Memphis. The needs are much more paramount for the stadium than the FedEx Forum at the present time, and the Grizzlies have not even yet today identified what it is they want. They just want a lot of money, whereas at the stadium, already architects have gone through a series of planning, and many millions of dollars have been spent getting it ready to go. So I'm very hopeful that they can get going soon after our AutoZone Liberty Bowl game on December 29th.
All right. I understand, seriously. A lot of folks taking pokes for Big E, councilman in particular, J.B. Smiley Esquire. That's, think how he writes his own name. But I understand. I don't know if this is frustration or hurt feelings that they were not exactly included in the whole process. So I get that. And I do hope cooler minds and hurt feelings get soothed over so that this thing does end up happening in the time frame where the price doesn't go up, so you get the full value of $220 million. What exactly did you say to the council? And I do think that also Fred Jones from the Southern Heritage Classic it's some sage advice about stepping back and then moving forward, something along those lines.
Yeah, and we neither Fred Jones or myself knew we would even be speaking. We were just there, and then they called us up to the front, and I took the opportunity on behalf of the Arizona Liberty Bowl to really explain who and what we are. I don't think many of those council people even knew that the Liberty name came from our organization. 60 years ago, the Arizona Liberty Bowl Festival Association is their formal name now. The Liberty Bowl Festival Association, originally the stadium was named Memphis Memorial Stadium, and then the city adopted our name, just much like the Rose Bowl or the Sugar Bowl, that kind of thing. And so that's where Liberty came from. I don't think many of those council people knew that. They didn't know that we have 500 members of our festival association and 150 corporate sponsors. We have many events. I took the opportunity to explain that even this week, our high school all-stars are practicing, even today, getting ready for the big high school all-star game this Saturday, which will be telecast on Channel 5, and I believe your station is a radio broadcasting name, and that we do many more things than just the game. And so it's essential for us to have a facility where we can carry on and bring in schools like in Iowa State that when they talk about coming to Memphis or getting seats in our stadium, that it's brought into the modern ages, and that's much more, in my opinion, timely and critical than the Grizzlies, who they got 3 more years on their lease, and they have not yet articulated what is the need for all this money. So they say they need more time to identify that, which is fine, and that's, I think, Chase Carlisle, the chairman of the committee, articulated that properly, saying we have some time to work that out. But I think with Fred Smith's kindness, his family, gift to basically it'll be to the university, but also to the city, to an amenity that's important to the city. And there's every city that's worth it has been either adding more bowl games. The bowl game that the University of Memphis might have had to go to was up in the baseball stadium in Fenway in Boston, of all things, in the middle of December. So, bowl games are very important, and that's what our association is so proud of, and the many volunteers and the folks who work so hard to, put Memphis on a center stage. And so I had the opportunity to talk about, our mission, to create events, and I don't think the council realized that most years the Arizona Liberty Bowl national telecast is the highest-rated TV event originating from Memphis, and that includes all other things. So, we're an important piece of this. We haven't really had the opportunity to speak up, but yesterday we did that, and I think it helped, guide the council there that let's get this moving. Let's get the stadium improvements underway as soon as possible.
And a clarification, if you could, please. There are some who believe that you pay no rent and that the Southern Heritage Classic pays no rent and that you're subsidized by the city, and that is absolutely false.
That's absolutely false. And I read somebody saying that, but that's the problem today. There's not a lot of careful journalism people can pop off. I actually, put forth, we think we pay too much. We pay, last year, not only we paid somewhere over $150,000, in cash, plus the city kept hundreds of thousands of dollars in food and concessions and parking revenue. So actually, our position is that we pay plenty, and then there's a cause that every year we pay more compared to when the CPI comes in. So that's just and we paid more, to be very frank, than the USFL pays, for their games. So no, that was a false statement. I'm glad you clarified that, David.
I'm glad that we did that. All right, let's talk a little bit about the game now, and that is going to be a rematch of the game from 2021-20. I just saw the line move. Folks are not believing in my Tigers. They made that game an 8.5-point Iowa State favorite. Can you believe that?
Well, in talking to the Iowa State coach and their athletic director, they're a sound team, and yes, we remembered that well. I think the folks here in Memphis and Iowa State remember that. It was a wonderful game, 21-20, and remember Anthony Miller got banged up a little bit. The Tigers were driving there at the end, and it was a tense and great atmosphere, and that was one reason why Jamie Pollard, the athletic director at at Iowa State said that it was such a great atmosphere, so much energy in the stadium, and we certainly hope that we can generate that same level of enthusiasm and excitement about bowl games. There's always a criticism about, how many bowl games have good attendance, but so I really reach out to the folks here in Memphis, whether you're a Memphis fan or not, come out to the stadium. You'll have a great time, a lot of energy in the stadium. The Barcays will be doing their halftime. That will be swearing in the Navy recruits before the game with our patriotic theme, a great performance of the national anthem, and it's a lot of fun out there at the stadium. And so far, it looks like there's good weather prediction. So hopefully, we can get that same kind of energy in the stadium on December 29th.
I hear thinks they're going to bring at least 15,000 people. Last time they were here, they literally drank the place dry. They ran out of beer at the stadium. Are you guys making sure that doesn't happen again?
I think that's well known. And they also, on Beale Street, and the parade, which is the day before the game, and that's a terrific event there for people just to enjoy themselves. And so they ran out of beer in Beale Street as well. But the Iowa State, they had 7 people here on Monday. First thing, they actually flew out of Iowa on Sunday night, immediately upon knowing that we had selected Iowa State. And they spent a lot of time. They're going to have a big pep rally in AutoZone Park in the stadium on the midday, I guess, about noon on the Thursday, the 28th. And then they'll march over to Beale Street, take over Beale Street there for the parade, which steps off at 2 o'clock. And then we have the Battle of the Bands there in Andy Park. And so they are really looking forward to this. And as you mentioned, I think that was one reason why we selected Iowa State, to kind of recreate that great atmosphere from 6 years ago. And it gives Memphis a good opportunity to beat a really good football team. And with all the talk about the Big 12, this is the time for the University of Memphis Tigers to step up, and that's the fans as well, and show that they can really draw. That's one of the criticisms of the University of Memphis about their attendance during their regular season. So really, those of your listeners, bring your friends to the game and show the Big 12. And then Iowa State's an exciting team. Anybody that watched that last game when they played on the road at Kansas State was a big home favorite in the snow. And they unleashed that wonderful freshman running back. He had 270 yards rushing and 3 touchdown runs longer than 70 yards. I mean, it was like a guy crash landed on the seat, and so we're looking forward to him. And then their quarterback reminds me a lot of Seth Hennigan. He is a freshman, and he was named, I believe, Freshman of the Year in the Big 12. So it's an exciting young team. There's nobody that's dropping out. In other words. There's nobody from Iowa State. They told us that.
No opt-outs? Is that what you're saying?
No, they actually, in the running back situation, there was a couple of older running backs that the coach had said, hey, there's this new young freshman is just so terrific. You might want to look at your other options, because they weren't going to get to play much.
Well, you also get 4 games where you keep a red shirt, and the bowl game is a free game. Anybody can play in a bowl game. It does not count as a game against eligibility. So you can see as many freshmen play in that game, or guys that have played 4 games, they can play a 5th game, and it will not count. Last thing for Steve Earhart, the Big Cheese, head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. What was your take on the playoff committee and the exclusion of undefeated Florida State?
Well, I'm a big fan of Mike Norvell and what he's done at Florida State, and to be an undefeated champion, I agree with what he said, that you got to win it on the field. And if we were going to decide, you and I might as well get together in a committee and say, well, we think this team's better than that team. And that leads into, I think, problems with just what you said earlier about betting lines and who decides who's better than that, and how many upsets are there all the time. So I was really dismayed by that. I agree with Mike Norvell. It was the wrong thing to do, but and everybody is trying to justify saying that it doesn't have anything to do with the power of the SEC. But I sort of believe that the SEC was not going to be left out, and they probably are the strongest team from top, or strongest conference from top to bottom in the country. And so that committee, said, well, we got to put in the champion of the SEC, and then it can't leave out Texas, because the champion of the SEC got beat at home by Texas. So that's how it worked out. But I think very unfortunate. But and they were not able to say, okay, this sets a bad precedent, because that's the last time that committee picks 4. Next year, remember that they seed 12 teams. So, when somebody said, well, that's the first time that's ever happened, well, the committee didn't care because there is no more precedent, because this is the last time they had to pick 4 teams.
Power of the SEC, in my estimation. Thank you much. I am appreciative, and I know we'll be...
This Saturday, Dave.
Oh, Saturday, you got the high school, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl High School All-Star Game. Cedric Miller's one of the coaches. I know that. And as usual, you got all these kids that get exposure looking for college scholarships. Most of the time, they get something.
Yeah, and it's 84 of the best young senior student athletes been recommended by their coaches. Will be suiting up for their last time in the Memphis area. Come on out, 2:30 p.m. at MUS. It's a great opportunity. 56 high schools. There were 2 high schools. There's a total of 58 in the metro area, but 2 of them didn't have the seniors there. So 56 different high schools. So, come on out of the stadium. Slade Calhoun from Munford is the other coach. Cedric Miller will be on one sideline, and then head coaches. Each of them have 5 head coaches that are serving as assistant coaches. So, but supposedly it's supposed to be 60 degrees on Saturday afternoon. So come on out to MUS and enjoy seeing the last time, and get to see the new Tony Pollard. When Tony played in our game some years ago, everybody said, well, that kid looks pretty fast, but he's a punt kick returner, and now look what he's nearly leading the NFL in rushing. So come on out and see some of these great young student athletes on Saturday.
Thank you. Count next Wednesday when we talk.
Thank you, David.
That is Steve Earhart, Big Cheese, head honcho of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. The Family Leisure Studios have moved for the moment to Richmond, but you got to get to I-40 and Whitten Road so you can enjoy the savings from the Christmas clubs. We are talking spas. We're talking games for the kids. You want something really cool, like those arcade games that you see like in bars, the shuffleboard. They got them. They got air hockey. They got pool tables galore, all on a special sale for Christmas. Lindsay, go see all the folks at Family Leisure, because the Christmas sale is going on at I-40 and Whitten Road. We'll head to Forest City, Arkansas next. We got Stats. He's right around the corner.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
This holiday season, give the gift of Gould's with a Gould's gift card for someone you love. It's the perfect gift for everyone. The Gould's gift card doesn't just send wishes, it grants them in store and online. Just come to any Gould's and pick up a gift card, or go to GouldSalonSpa.com to purchase online. That's GouldSalonSpa.com. Happy holidays from Gould's. Gould's Salon Spa, locally owned and operated since 1932.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry, and they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
Bartlett Small Engine has free pickup and delivery both at your home and curbside for lawnmowers, blowers, edgers, and any small engine. Call 901-386-9779.
My Westie.
WestiesMemphis.com.
Westie's Hot Fudge Pie. By now, you know we're famous for a hot fudge pie. But have you tried the new Cajun Alfredo?
The new spicy on our menu.
Fettuccine noodles, homemade Alfredo, sliced bell peppers, diced green onions, smoked sausage, and Cajun sauteed shrimp? Are you kidding me?
Wow. What you said?
Often imitated,
never duplicated.
The new Cajun Alfredo.
Only at the North End's Westies.
Oh, my, so good.
We deliver 7 nights a week.
Downtown Memphis.
Oh,
my.
Open late till 2 a.m.
So good.
Join us December 7, 8, and 9 for our 40th anniversary celebration. Festivities kick off at 6 p.m. nightly. Old friends, new friends, and hot fudge pie.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome back in. I'm in Richmond. Tonight, the Tigers and the Rams. It'll be the sixth time they meet. To the west, let's go to Forest City, Arkansas. Let's catch up with Brett Norsworthy, who we like to call a SEC historian, also a Memphis historian. And you and I, my friend, we had a chance to see somebody. Not everybody had that chance because we're getting old. But the greatest Tiger football player of all time, I think, got inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame, the first Tiger player ever to get into the Hall. Your thoughts on the great D'Angelo Williams, who was raised not too far from you in Forest City. He was in Wynne, Arkansas. Uh-oh.
I think we lost Brett. Let me get a hold of him real quick.
Oh, we've lost Brett. Okay, thank you very much. I did sort of go over these numbers earlier. I'll give them again. The guy had 6,000 yards. I think he had over 10,000 all-purpose yards. That led the NCAA for a long time. Somebody or two or three now have maybe surpassed D'Angelo Williams. He had 34 100-plus yard games. He ended a 32-year bull drought. He had moves like you wouldn't believe. He was the first guy I ever heard who said, as he was running, he looked up at the Jumbotron. They had just put that Jumbotron in the south end zone, looked up to see where somebody was, and moved the other way. I don't know if Tommy West bought that, but he did say, what would we have done if he had gone to the other end zone? Because they didn't have a screen there. Still don't have a screen there. So he was funny. He obviously was terrific. He's the best of the Tiger football players I think that we have ever privilege, honestly, to call his games all those years. And yesterday he was able to get in. I have a little dilemma. I'll talk with that if we get Brett.
We have him.
Pertaining to the Heisman. And allowed to divulge our vote. So I voted, and Ron Higgins, who's coming up next, had a vote. I actually got Higgins' vote here when he moved, and he's gotten that vote back again down in Louisiana. And Brett Norsworthy has a vote. And here was the here. Do you take a look at the guy who is the best player on the best team, and that by some voters is what their criteria is, and it's really not spelled out for you. That's just the way some voters think. The guy who has the total best numbers. And sometimes you get a year where a guy even if he was not on the team that's in the playoffs or going to a New Year's Day 6 bowl, but the guy's numbers are just so outstanding that you have to go that way. This could be one of those years because the LSU quarterback, if you look at his numbers with the Washington and the Oregon, and those are the guys that are the quarterbacks that are in there, and you got Marvin Harrison, who's also going to New York City for Heisman presentation. But if you look at those numbers, they're pretty equal passing the ball, but nobody ran the ball like Jaden Daniels did at LSU. He had another 1,000+ yards running the ball added to his yardage passing and 10 more touchdowns. So you have to take into account all those things, and then whatever you're kind of go with that. Zach, have we been able to get a hold of stats?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Norsworthy, let me start with what I originally intended to talk about to begin with, and that's D'Angelo. We had the privilege of seeing him. Is he the best Tiger you ever saw?
He is, and he made a great decision coming out of high school at Wynn to not go to Arkansas, but to go to Memphis and play immediately. If you remember, Dave, there was a great running back out of West Memphis, Dearius Howard, that was in that class.
Yep.
And he would have had to go on to Fayetteville and battle with him really to get on the field as a true freshman. So it was a great decision to come to Memphis. And coming out of high school where he ran the trap a lot, his high school coach loved running the trap. Well, that's what Randy Fichtner and Tommy West promised him, and that's what they ran. And I hope Tommy West was able to enjoy D'Angelo's celebration with him.
I don't know if he was there, but I did see it was on Twitter. It was maybe something the University of Memphis put together. And I also saw the video they introduced D'Angelo with. And so they had some plays of D'Angelo, and then it was Tommy West was talking about D'Angelo. And Tommy West has two other players that are in the Hall of Fame. You remember? And I think it's Terrell Owens that he had at UT Chattanooga is another one of the great players that he had. But he just spoke about not only Williams' ability, but Williams' character, and that of all the players that he had, he might have been the greatest player with off-the-field character. And we all know what a good guy D'Angelo Williams is.
Well, he was a really good competitor, and he was a good teammate, and always played real hard, and was such a patient runner with that trap, running that trap. And you're right. I think the Jumbotron play was actually down at South Florida.
I thought it was in the AutoZone in what is now Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. I'm pretty sure that was it. But I don't want to question your memory. It's usually better than mine. Talk about, since we're on stadiums here, what was your take yesterday of the city council and that meeting?
I couldn't believe we had a meeting to talk about transferring ownership of the football stadium, and in the end, we're talking about the Grizzlies maybe leaving.
Yeah, which I still have a hard time believing, and they and probably Seattle are going to be two expansion places that, they're talking about each team or each expansion team paying $4 to $6 million to get into the league. They're not giving up that money because those are the two places everybody thinks LeBron James is going to get Vegas anyway. I don't quite understand all of that. I do think you got, as one of the councilmen said, you got 3 years to figure out how to come up with $1 million additional dollars. I think that can be done. I think there is a time frame here just for cost to get the darn Simmons. That building is a 1960s building. It's been expanded a couple of times, but the concession stand areas, the concourses that everybody now has in these new stadiums, they don't have anything like that.
No, it's not a great place to play, and really needs to be torn down and started over.
Well, I don't think they can do that, but I think they can put $220 million and make it an acceptable place. I don't know if that gets Memphis into a Power 5, but it certainly cannot hurt. And they need a better building. That is for sure. Congratulations, your Rebels into the Peach Bowl. This is a first shot at 11 wins. as much incredible history as Ole Miss has, it's stunning to me that they've never had a season with 11 wins.
Yeah, but a lot of those great years under Coach Vaught were 9-game regular seasons, and then the 10th game was the bowl game, and they did that a lot. But no, they have not won 11, got a chance to win 11, and win 11 this year and 8 last year and 10 in 21. That's 29 in 3 years. And you got to remember, all the people talking about Ole Miss right now at 10 wins, the Vegas over and under in the preseason was 7.5. There were many people around 7 or around 8. Nobody thought Ole Miss was having this kind of year. And Lane Kiffin had that kind of year, and now going to a New Year's Six Bowl again, the 4th time in the 10 years of this composition of postseason for college football. And you count the David Cutcliffe Cotton Bowl, the 2 Houston Nutt Cotton Bowls, the 2 Sugar Bowls, one under Hugh Freeze, one under Lane Kiffin, and a Peach Bowl under Hugh Freeze, and now another Peach Bowl under Lane Kiffin. 7 big-time bowl games in the 21st century under 4 different coaches.
Win at Ole Miss, pretty apparently, because several coaches have. I love the matchup with Penn State. I'm almost surprised they're 3.5-point favorites. How do you view it?
It's going to be a really competitive game, very physical at the line of scrimmage. Penn State's always been known for, and James Franklin, certainly knows the SEC and the type of caliber players that the SEC represents. He's recruiting all those same players, and it is proof that you can win at Ole Miss. Those 4 coaches, all with success in this 21st century, really only 2 didn't have any success, and it was, sadly Matt Luke had to take over just a horrible situation, and one utter meathead in Ed Orgeron.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, Heisman. You and I both have a vote. Ron Higgins, I already mentioned, he's got a vote. Can you tell me? You can't tell me your. I'd like to know your philosophy. Some people think best player on the best team. Some people think, look at all the numbers, the best individual performance. That's the guy that should get it. How do you try and go about this? Was it a tough decision for you this year?
It was really tough. It was the hardest one since I've been voting. I started in 2019. That was easy with Joe Burrow. The next year, I had Mac Jones, Devontae Smith won. Then in 21, who won it in 21? And then last year, Caleb Williams was easy. That made it simple. But for me, I go to what we went to Sunday with the teams. Is it best or is it deserving?
Well, it should be the best. You got to look at record and what they did on the field, in my opinion. And this year, there was a special guy. I mean,
but a lot of these players don't play defense.
They're all great players.
So you really can't hold defense against some of these players. Because, a lot of these quarterbacks that we often talk so much about, they don't play defense, and it has sadly become, just a quarterback award, and I hate that. In 21, I voted for Bryce Young, and he won in a landslide. So I've been right in my vote so far, and I think I'll be right Saturday night. I think the player that's going to win is going to win in a landslide.
I think so, too. All right, so Memphis, Ole Miss, I know you probably locked in on championship football Saturday, but if Ole Miss is the 10th best team in the SEC, then the SEC is going to be pretty good. And one guy, I don't think we really talked much at all going into the basketball season was Jalen Murray. The kid played at St. Peter's, and Chris Beard saw a gem in that one. And there's no question that Murray outplayed Javon Quinterly in that game, the Memphis point guard.
He did. He got the best of him, and down the stretch, Chris Beard got the best of it to have that lead, but to run out of timeouts, to not have a play drawn up late, and for Ole Miss to be able to narrowly escape that game. And Murray had another good game last night against Mount St. Mary's. So Chris Beard's really got them going. Just imagine when he gets comparable players to that Memphis roster, because there's not anybody out there in college basketball right now that would take the Ole Miss roster over Memphis's roster.
No. And no one would have thought that even though Memphis or NC State were the two really solid teams on that schedule early, nobody would have thought 8-0 even with Chris Beard as the coach to start the season that way.
No, nobody.
You know, what is interesting, and I swear to you this happens to Memphis all the time, if you got a guy who's from Memphis that's playing against the Tigers, he's going to shoot or be incredible. Going into that game, Matthew 5% three-point shooter. Now, we know he's better than that career-wise, but that's what he was shooting in 2023, and the guy goes 6 for 7 from three-point range. That's incredible. You got to give that kid some credit.
Well, and you got to guard him, and the staple of Penny Hardaway teams has been defense, and to give up 50 in the second half was just a complete collapse.
It was. No doubt about that. All right, my friend, enjoy this weekend. There's no college football for you, but we got bowl games coming up. We'll be talking more about that as time goes on. Pardon?
We got Army-Navy Saturday.
Oh, I forgot about Army-Navy. That's right. They have carved that out. Now, Army-Navy, that's the American, isn't it? Oh, no, it's not, because Mike Oresco didn't include that in the league. Sorry. That's our friend. That is Brett Norsworthy. You'll listen to him today, 3 to 6 time. On this show, he's brought to you by Dinstall's, and I got to remind everybody, Dinstall's has the perfect way to say thank you to your friends, to your family, to your clients. They have gift baskets for the holiday that are just absolutely amazing. I got one of those for emceeing the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame. Like, it was incredible, not just the product, but the way they present it. If you want to be a hit with a client, I'm telling you, that they will go, wow, that's impressive when they get their gift that comes from Dinstall's. And you got 5 different locations to buy Cashew Crunch, milk chocolate, or go healthy in their dark chocolate and the mints and everything that they've got. It's outstanding, and the presentation is too. All you got to do is go to any of their locations. You know where they make the candy? That's Pleasant View. They've got a store downtown. They've got one in my neighborhood in Laurelwood. And, of course, got you covered for the holidays. Make it a sweet memory for everybody, friends, family, clients. Just go to Dinstall's. Back in a minute, we'll head to Baton Rouge. Ron Higgins standing by, and he's next.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Cooling or heating system on the fritz? Dripping faucet? Call the pros at Conway Services today and we'll waive the service call fee with any HVAC or plumbing repair. Expert technicians available 7 days a week. Call 384-3511 to schedule your appointment. Visit conwayservices.com for details, terms, and conditions. License number 64210, 64365 EAS, MS 19668.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers Stay Hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. I like putting parlay bets together, hammering the overs, and anytime player touchdown bets always have me on the edge of my seat. So if you're ready to do the same, visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season. That's FanDuel.com/win. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
21 plus and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call TN Redline 1-800-889-9789.
Yo, Mark, long time no see. You still down at Dyer's?
Man, I'm not down at Dyer's. I'm out at Collierville Historic Town Square.
When'd you move out there?
We've been out there for about 13 years. We've got the shops, the park, we got the train the kids like to play on.
You still cooking those burgers the old-fashioned way?
Man, we're still flattening out those hamburger balls on a slab of marble and skillet frying them the old-fashioned way like they've been doing for 100 years.
Dude, you still have those onion rings.
Man, they're fantastic. Hand-breaded, served up just right.
I loved those milkshakes. Please tell me you're still doing those.
Man, we are hand-dipping those shakes, putting them in the old glass in the shake tin, served the old-fashioned way.
You got any new items out there I need to know about?
We're just doing a lot of gourmet sandwiches. We've got farm-raised catfish straight out of the Delta. We've got some hot tamales from Pasquale's Tamales out of Helena, Arkansas.
Man, are they served in the husk?
What those guys like to say, they're so good, you'll suck the shuck.
Go see my buddy Mark at Dyer's Cafe in Collierville's historic town square.
For the latest from the world of golf, tune in every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 for the Golf Shop Radio Show, presented by PlayGolfMyrtleBeach.com, the golf capital of the world. Hosts Mark Greenhelge and Matt Blanchard talk golf from tee to green and everything in between. If you like golf, you're going to love Golf Shop Radio. Before you tee up, drop on in. Welcome to the Golf Shop here on Sports 56, real sports talk.
Make the season extraordinary when you shop the spectacular holiday collection at Sissy's Log Cabin. From engagement rings to designer jewelry, you'll save on gifts everyone will love, all while enjoying the Sissy's promise of unmatched service and experience at any of our 6 locations or online at sissyslogcabin.com. Embrace the magic of the season only at Sissy's Log Cabin, official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies and the Memphis Tigers, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Let's head to Beto and Ron Higgins standing by. Higgs, good morning. You have any trouble? Was it a tough decision for you? Because the guy you watched all year, Jaden Daniels, seems to be in the lead for the Heisman Trophy.
Well, there's 3 ways you can win the Heisman. One is you can be the best player on one of the better teams in the nation. ESPN can push your agenda, and you can win by a national TV push. Or you can put up stats so remarkable that nobody can dispute them. And that's how Jaden Daniels is going to win this thing. He's put up stats that are just absolutely mind-blowing. He carried LSU to 9 wins on a team that they had to score points to win because their defense was so bad. And he did it every game. Every game he had a remarkable game almost every game. There wasn't really any slack off. They never played him. The only time they ever played him, probably a little bit longer than he should have played, was the Georgia State game toward the end of the year. But other games that they had wrapped up at halftime, he didn't play the second half. He had 110 possessions, just like Bo Nix had 110 possessions going to last week's playoff game. So they were even in that case. But I just think every week he's shown. I mean, 1 week you're getting 606 yards offense, and next week you're counting for 8 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns. It was a stupid every week.
And I think it's a fair thing to say. You can't hold a player accountable for defense, right? If LSU's defense was as good as their offense, they would be in this college football playoff mix. But they're not. Their defense wasn't that good. But this mentioned the ESPN aspect of it. Do you think ESPN has been pushing Jaden Daniels?
Not until recently that they I think now you don't have to push people as much because there's more games on TV. I'll never forget ESPN basically winning the Heisman for Charles Woodson. I mean, just won it for him. Pushes the agenda what a multi-talented player he was. Yeah, over Peyton Manning. That was absolutely stunning. The guy returned a few punts, had some plays on offense, and and all of a sudden he's a multi-talented player over a guy who was on the snap. I mean, on the field almost every offensive snap, and played great. So you always worry about that. Worry about being provincial. I think it's probably less provincial now than it used to be because voters really. There's no excuse for them not to know a lot about every candidate because you can watch them anytime on TV. All the games are on TV. You can go on your iPad or your computer and watch stuff, replays. So you should.
Yeah, you can go to YouTube and see whatever you need.
Exactly. So you can look up any stats you want. So hopefully the voters are well informed. He should win this thing. I never say it's in the bag, but he should because. Again, from what I saw this year, for me, it was like, this is dating myself, it's like going back to when Pete Maravich played basketball at LSU. He averaged 44.2 points a game for his career. In every game, he did something that absolutely amazed you. And that's every time I watched Jade Daniels, I was just waiting for him to do something in the game that was like unbelievable. And he did it almost every game. Yes, he did.
You brought up ESPN. There are some that feel ESPN was involved. I believe it was the power of Greg Sankey, the SEC, and maybe Nick Saban, that Alabama got into this playoff at the expense of Florida State. Give me your thoughts on the college football playoff.
Okay, first of all, I'm going to discount the whole Nick Saban theory. Nick Saban, I know everybody thinks he just picks up phones and calls people, so we should be in. The playoff committee, whether you like it or not, followed the criteria they had there. And the criteria has always been there that they can make a judgment, fair or unfair, that if they think a team's not as good as it has been, if they're missing a key player, then that might give them an excuse or out or a reason to say this team is not as good as it has been, and we're going to get a team that we think is better than them, and which is exactly what they did. Now, is it unfair? Well, yeah. I mean, Florida State didn't lose. We can make the argument, like you said earlier when we talked. Alabama wouldn't even be in the position. They had hit a miracle pass. But then they followed that up with a win over Georgia, and that was good timing for them. And Florida State was on a third-string quarterback and looked average against Louisville. So it's always, I mean,
yeah, but the second-string quarterback, who was average during the Florida win, he'd play in the game. It wouldn't be. By the way, the kid is from Lausanne High School. Brock Glenn was the third-string quarterback, and I'll give you that he looked overmatched. But the second-string quarterback would be in. And if we're looking at smell test, I mean, you got to look at body of work, don't you? So here's where I think Alabama played really good this year. Two games. And the win over your guys, LSU. They should have lost to Auburn. They could have lost to Arkansas. They played poorly against a poor team in USF. So if we look at body of work, even down the stretch when 2 weeks ago, they should have lost to a team that got beaten by New Mexico State by 3 touchdowns. I don't think the smell test on this being a great team at the end of the year is true. I don't think it's accurate.
I think it's a really good team, a great team. This is probably one of Nick Saban's best coaching jobs, honestly, because you're right. I mean, all teams, there have been a team that you fear, but I don't know what team that's out there right now that you do fear. Like this team's like undeniably the best team out there. I guess that's what made this hard, because there were so many good teams and not a great team. And you look at the 4 playoff teams, you can't say any of those 4 teams are like great. They're all good. And because come some years you have teams that are like, oh my God, that team is. I mean, Alabama's had teams like that, but they've destroyed teams in playoffs. LSU's 15-0 team was like that in 2019. And I think that's what probably this was really hard for the committee, because there were a lot of good teams, but nobody that they was like dominating or. And so, I mean, next year you'll have 12 teams, but I'm sure that
next year we'll argue about the 13th team in, but it won't have that heavyweight to
Yeah,
the first and the last time an undefeated Power 5 champion doesn't get in. And to me, I'm still blown away by it. I think it's the power of Sankey in the SEC. But here's one thing we'll agree on: we don't have to worry about it ever again.
Oh yeah. If it had been this year, LSU would have been number 13. they were.
You know what? ESPN would have gotten them in because they want the star power of Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just my hunch.
LSU fans saying, "Well, how come Missouri's ahead of us? We beat Missouri." Well, every year there's an argument.
All right, I got to ask you this before I run out of time. Angel Reese, one of the best women in college basketball, leaves the team, was kicked off the team. Nobody knows. Kim Mulkey, the LSU women's basketball coach, won't say. Reese comes back against Virginia Tech. Give me the background story on all this.
Basically, Angel Reese came back to school, and there's only two things you got to do for Kim Mulkey to play for her: play hard and play defense. And Angel Reese came back to school. She looked mentally, physically worn out from a summer of basically, I know she was on Team USA, but a summer of doing commercial shoots and modeling and whatever she was doing in NIL money, because she has a $1.7 million valuation for NIL, so she makes a lot of money. And
wow.
I think she was tired. And there was a game where her first shot of the game, 40 seconds into the game, was she jacked up a three-pointer. And Mulkey pulled her out, set her down, then played her second half of that game. I think Reese probably in the locker room sulked. And Mulkey said, "Okay, well, go sulk by yourself. We're going to suspend you." I think Mulkey was probably doing her a favor. I think Angel had time to kind of think about herself and where she is, and a lot has come at her in the past year. And she used, during the time off, Shaq would call her every day. And talk to her, and probably gave her good advice. Said, "Listen, you've got to separate the stuff of being a celebrity and a basketball player, and you've got to find your love for basketball again, and enjoy playing with your teammates. And look at this other stuff like this is another person. This is a character you play away from the court." And I think she came back and played hard. She played with joy, and she looked like the old Angel. I think she enjoyed it, and I think that's what she's got to do. Just enjoy the game you love and have fun with your teammates. And it's a better team than last year. She doesn't have to do as much every game, just rebound and score from underneath and then have to carry a team. I think she's going to figure that out, and I hope it works out for her. She's not a terribly bad person. She really isn't. She's just a young person who all of a sudden had all this fame in 1 year, and it came at her. And
we've seen that before.
Yeah,
we've seen that before. No question.
She had a good mentor in Shaq.
I hope it has the makings of an angelic ending. Let's put it like that.
There you go,
Ron. Thank you much. We'll do this again next week.
All right, Wolo. Take care. See you.
Thank you. That's Ron Higgins, our man down in Baton Rouge. Brought to you by our title sponsor. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai, and within Homer Skelton Hyundai is Genesis of Olive Branch, right at the corner of Highway 78, Lamar in Memphis, and the very first exit in Mississippi Craft Road. Turn left, and you'll go see this place that just does great things for all their customers, which is why they have such great customer retention. Right now, though, you got to go see at the Genesis of Olive Branch within the building. Got to see a crazy Canadian guy who just is terrific. Vinny Gerard's his name, and he is trying to incentivize you to come try a Genesis car, particularly the SUVs. The GV70 is the smaller one. The both have all the new toys, bells, whistles, all the newest technology in that great Genesis luxury. They got it, and they've got special financing to incentivize you to come in. Go see Vinny. Ask about the deals at Genesis of Olive Branch. Talk to you then. We'll see you again tomorrow morning in studio. Johnny Radio's next. Have a great day, everybody.